The Maple Leafs D is struggling to start this season, and it looks like Sheldon Keefe might have to start taking drastic measures if this thing is going to turn around. Could John Klingberg be a healthy scratch? And the return of Jake McCabe could be coming soon. Welcome back to Third Man In. I'm Zack Phillips, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the recent play of John Klingberg and how this might lead to Sheldon Keefe having to take some drastic measures with this Leafs defensive core and the big offseason signing that was John Klingberg at about $4 million AAV coming in this summer, thinking, hey, maybe this guy will hop in and be a massive offensive player, a guy who can really boost the power play and make an impact that way, knowing he's not going to be that great defensively. Then we'll talk about the Jake McCabe return that could be potentially coming soon here, as well as Sheldon Keefe potentially hinting at an interesting lineup construction going into this weekend, potentially trying to save his job and reconfigure how things are going for the Leafs this season. But before we get into all of that, I do want to remind people, if you haven't already, please make sure to hit that like button here on this video, as well as subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get back to 1,000 subscribers here on Third Man In. So if you can hit that subscribe button and help support the show, it does mean a lot. It does help continue to boost us out there, find more people to get involved in the chats. And if you turn on notifications, you get notified every time videos like this drop or live streams come out. So make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications as well. If you do have the ability to, click the link in the description there. You'll see the opportunity to donate to a Movember campaign. Myself growing this greasy mustache, it is for a good cause for men's health. So please click on that Movember link and head on over there if you can and are able to or willing to donate to the Movember campaign that myself and some of my buddies have going on right now. But let's get into the topics for today's video. First and foremost, looking at some lineups that we're seeing out of Leafs practice here this morning in response to their loss to the Ottawa Senators the other night, 6-3. These guys show up on the ice, and thanks to Mark Masters, we can see over here the lineups that they skated with this morning. Obviously, forward line's pretty much staying the same there, but it's the defense that we're really taking a look at. Morgan Rielly, TJ Brodie, no surprise. Mark Giordano, Jake McCabe on the second pair alongside Mark Giordano. So that's obviously nice to see him getting out and skating. But this is where things got interesting. Yes, obviously line 1, line 2, line 3. Okay, yeah, sure. But line 3 is where things are really starting to concern some Leafs fans. John Klingberg, not a part of that third D pairing. Benoit and Legason in there. John Klingberg skating as the 7th defenseman here today. Connor Timmins obviously wearing a no-contact jersey, and if John Klingberg is playing with a guy in practice who's wearing a no-contact jersey, not the greatest sign for him. So let's dig into this a little bit more here. You were signed for $4 million this offseason in the summer. And if you've got guys like Benoit and Legason ahead of you in the lineup, some things are going seriously wrong. So John Klingberg needs to give his head a shake. The other night against the Ottawa Senators, he's on the ice for 4 goals against from that Senators team. And when your team only scores 3 and you're on for 4 against, that's the first bad sign. And then the fact that there was 4 goals against with him on the ice and only 6 by the Senators, another bad sign for John Klingberg. He is not a great defenseman in his own zone to start with, but then you kind of sit there and say, hey, well, it's all okay if he can counteract it on the offensive side and be a good offensive defenseman, which he has not been so far to start this season. He has really struggled with his offensive production, made some terrible decisions, has put the Leafs in some bad spots, going back defensively because of things he's done in the offensive zone, and he has severely struggled to start this season. Now you're going to have 2 guys who were called up from the AHL taking over your spot ahead of you. This is a bad sign and a bad use of money. I did like the swing that you were taking in the summer, saying, hey, there's a potential upside here with this guy where he could come in and run power play number 1. I thought that the player that he was in Dallas might transfer or start to come back into his level of play when he got here with Toronto, another high-end team, fast-paced, fits his offensive, free-flowing style, and it just hasn't been there. I don't know if it's the wrong deployment, if he's being asked to do the wrong things by Sheldon Keefe, what it is, but no matter what, you kind of got to start to figure things out and dial it in, because his level of production and the way he's been playing here has been nowhere near good enough, obviously forcing him to a spot where he's going to be the 7th man. And Now that leads us to our second thing here in today's video is the return of Jake McCabe. Now we see a tweet here from Mark Masters this morning. It looks like Jake McCabe may be ready to return from a groin injury after missing 6 games. John Klingberg skating on the 4th pair and could be a scratch on the ice for 4 goals against last night. Brings up the game against the Senators there. But this is a problem. First and foremost, you're not playing well enough to the point where 2 AHL guys are now ahead of you in this roster. And even if you're going to sit there and say, hey, he's the 7th just in practice and things are going that way, what happens when Timmins returns? McCabe's returning. He's bumped ahead of you. Timmins could be coming back. Liljegren come back. What if they go out and acquire another piece? Where the hell does John Klingberg fit into this depth chart? So first and foremost, in regards to McCabe, very happy that he's going to be returning here. It's not like I think that this guy is a guy who can eat up 25, 30 minutes a night and be some type of rock star, but he's a pretty good defensive defenseman, and if he can find his groove here alongside a partner like Mark Giordano, who maybe could be a guy to help prop him up, then I think you could get a little bit more defensive play out of this team, which is something they've been struggling with and lacking through the first 13 games of the season so far. Here it just hasn't been good enough, allowing way too many goals against, way too many high danger chances. This team needs to tighten things up. Jake McCabe could be a guy to help that out. But obviously the other piece of this, which is just the overall theme of this video, is how the hell does this apply to John Klingberg? Well, it's not good for him. This obviously puts him down in a spot where he gets bumped down the ladder yet again. Still, as I mentioned, remaining behind 2 AHL guys. And I'm not trying to diminish them, but the reality is these are guys called up from the AHL because of injuries ahead of them. And now they're getting an opportunity because they've exceeded the $4 million players' level of play. That's not a good look. Final thing that we'll touch on here in this video is how they actually might go about the rosters here. And we see a tweet from Jonas Siegel. Sheldon Keefe said the Leafs' Friday lineup will be determined by Jake McCabe's availability. So obviously we'll see how that goes over the next couple of days and see if he does get into the game against the Calgary Flames on Friday night, because that obviously simplifies things a little bit. But if he's skating on the 2nd pair with Giordano, it would lean towards the idea that he could potentially return. And then this next statement in this tweet actually leads you to believe that he would probably be back anyways. Keefe mentioned the possibility of going 11-7, had a brief discussion with Ryan Reaves following practice. Looks like Reaves could be the odd man out in that scenario. So there you go. 2 different reports. Mark Masters saying Klingberg could be the scratch. Jonas Siegel saying Reaves could be the scratch. Either way, neither of these guys have been too great, but I also think that Klingberg is a guy you kind of expected something out of. Ryan Reaves has pretty much been what Leafs fans thought he would be in terms of an impact player on the ice. It just seems like Sheldon Keefe just does not like using him. Just straight up does not like using him. And if a guy's going to sit on your bench at 4 to 6 minutes a night, a team that's gone 11-7 before and been fairly successful with it, that might be the way to start to look and say, hey, you know what? We'll just go and do that. We've done it. We've been comfortable with it. We've had success, whatever. I like Ryan Reaves. $1.3 million to sit in the press box. I'm not going to lie to you. That stinks. So hopefully things can get figured out here. I think Sheldon Keefe just doesn't like him. He isn't a fan of him. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like he's a massive impact player when he's on the ice. He's actually being fairly negative for this team, but he's also being out on the ice with John Klingberg and Giordano and David Kampf, who hasn't been great to start this year. So it's not like it's just all on Ryan Reaves. Sometimes it's the players around them that don't help the situation. It's not like they're sewering him, but hey, maybe they don't help completely. So interested to see how things go over the next couple of days and the lineup decisions that go into this weekend, because I will say this, maybe hot take, maybe not, but this weekend determines the future of this Leaf season, and most importantly, it determines the future of Sheldon Keefe with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So looking forward to see the lineup decisions that ultimately get made here. Looking forward to see how this weekend ends up playing out. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts. Should Klingberg be scratched? Should Reaves be scratched? How do you handle this moving forward? Do you trade John Klingberg? Can you trade John Klingberg? I want to hear it all from you guys, so let me know in the comments. And as well, while you're at it, make sure to hit that like button on this video. It does help continue to grow this channel. Hit subscribe here on the channel and turn on notifications so you get notified every time videos just like this one drop, as well as when live streams happen. You don't want to miss anything here. So thank you so much to everyone who tuned in. This is going to be an exciting weekend, whether chaotic or turns out to be an absolutely electric weekend. Nonetheless, it will be exciting. And no matter what happens around this team, Leafs fans, as always, keep believing.